morning. You guys hear me okay? It done? Okay, I think I have to hold it. Can you hear me now? Okay. This is new for me, not holding a mic. As a child, I never liked sleeping in my room by myself. Frequently, I was trying to convince one of my 3 siblings to sleep in my room. My younger brother, JB, was usually my most active and captive audience. But when even he stopped taking the sleepover bait, I decided to set up my sleeping quarters in my parents' bedroom. Once I had established my presence in their room nightly, my mom created a system where I could lay my sleeping bag on the floor in their room before going to bed in my own room. That way, once I wanted to come to their room to sleep, I could just slide into my sleeping bag without waking them. I can so vividly remember this strong desire to be near my sleeping parents, wanting to hear the rise and fall of their collective slumbering breath and the inner ease I felt knowing we were all close, in one room, pulsing together. With time, and more specifically, time spent in therapy as a child to address this exact sleeping problem, I outgrew the aching desire to sleep in their room. I learned that I carried my parents with me, inside me, whether I was at school, in the woods of our backyard, or even asleep in my own room. And this realization has served me throughout my adult life, and especially serves me now as I think about the ways in which I will continue to carry the imprint of my mom with me. When my mom first got diagnosed with cancer, I was completely and utterly devastated. While the initial prognosis was actually quite good, we quickly learned that the cancer had spread further than any of us, including her doctors, had imagined. Something deep down inside me always felt that her diagnosis and her cancer was serious. I remember my 30th birthday, and I had decided to throw myself a big party right here at the Speakeasy. At this point, my mom was going through her first 6-month round of chemo, and I was really struggling with her being sick. I was angry, and my grief was coming out sideways in such a way that I was strangely mad at her for being sick. So back to the 30th birthday party. My mom decided to surprise me and my older brother Tyler, whose birthday was that next week, and come to the party. I can remember seeing her and wanting to run. Nothing in me wanted to be physically close to her. And as I watched Tyler, overwhelmed with joy and tears of happiness upon seeing her, I wondered why I couldn't feel the same way. Here was this woman to whom I had grown so close, the person I called when I felt stuck on a decision, the person I deeply admired and trusted, the one person in this world who I felt like really saw me, understood and loved me boundlessly. So why couldn't I be happy to see her? A year into my mom's diagnosis, we learned that her cancer was terminal. And for the first time, I began to engage with acceptance. I came to realize that my mom being sick was forcing me to face some struggles of my own that I already possessed long before she got sick. My mom for years had been trying to help me be more present in life, to not constantly analyze, process, and attempt to predict what lies ahead in my life. For much of my adult life, my mom would, in her gentle Abby way, try to show me how my spinning and processing was stopping me from feeling true presence and happiness in my day-to-day life. I would hear what she was saying, but I kept telling her I didn't know how to put it into action. Didn't I need to be prepared for whatever was coming my way? And how could I be prepared if I didn't plan? Her cancer became the great equalizer for me. It quieted and calmed me in a way that I was never capable of before. Part of an illness like my mom's is constantly receiving new information from the doctors, shifting treatments, managing new side effects, and seeing new outcomes. In it, you learn that nothing is constant. And no matter how prepared you ever think you are for what is coming next, the only thing you can truly be prepared for is the unknown. My mom's illness and death taught me to relax into life, to take each moment as it comes, and truly trust that we all possess what we need to be happy and okay. My mom used to joke that her getting sick and dying was me getting my master's in life and her getting her PhD. When people talk about illness and dying, they tell you all the difficult things that come with it: sadness, pain, loss, But no one tells you about the beauty that is wrapped up in it too. The deep, abiding love, the joy of caring for someone else, the connectedness to each other. The experience of caring for my mom the last few weeks of her life gave me the chance to give back to a woman who had given me so much. Even while she was actively dying, she had this way of making you feel special, cared for, when you were the one supposed to be caring for her. My sister Jessica and I were in bed with her one morning in her last week, and she said, "Can I tell you one thing?" This was a phrase she liked to say somewhat often towards the end. And we said, "Yeah, of course, tell us." She said, "This is the beautiful part of life. Having you two here caring for me." And again, I was reminded that the beauty really is in the present moment, even when death is only moments away. Towards the end, Jessica and I were taking turns sleeping in her room. One night, when my mom was starting to be less lucid, my grandfather jokingly asked her if he could sleep over that night. She gently told him that there simply wasn't enough room for him, that Jessica and I were already sleeping over and he would have to go home. She then told my grandmother to have us come get ready for bed with her because she was ready to go to sleep for the night. Here I was, once a child who longed to sleep in the same room with my mom, and now an adult with a mother who longed for me to sleep in the same room as her. And I couldn't help but think about how life comes full circle. And as I watched my mom die on that Thursday morning, I knew, like I had learned as a kid, that her imprint on me, on my siblings, on my dad, is with us. I watched my older brother look across a room at his 6-month-old just to see his face crack into a wide smile. I watched my dad patiently spending hours watering my mom's gardens. I watched my younger brother, and now his young son, light up a room. I watched my sister lovingly and selflessly care for our dying mother. And I know my mom is a part of us that no living or dying can separate. Thank you.
Good morning, Creative Mornings, and happy birthday. I think we should just really give a round of applause to the leader who's led this organization for the last 3 years. Let's give it up. This is nothing like my third birthday. There's a lot more people here. I'm Jennifer Magley, and I'm a speaker, an author, and a business owner here in town. And you'll have to forgive me because I'm a person who is a really high energy and excited speaker. I like to get lit on the mic. Today's a little different vibe. I've never shared this story with anyone, but I think I just turned the mic off. Are we still there? Technical difficulties. I know. Juan, you're welcome.
You can just go without the mic.
Just go without the mic. Can everybody hear me all right?
No, I got it.
Yeah?
You can keep going, but I'll
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're all defined often by what we do, right? We're all defined by what we do. And at the age of 11, I decided to be defined by actually what I didn't do. And at 11, I decided to stay pure until marriage. Now, some of you might be wondering, what is she talking about? What does she mean pure? I mean pure, like I was gonna say a virgin till I was married, which means no penetration. So I made this deep decision, I will be pure until I'm married, mic drop, right? And I did it for 2 reasons. I did it because I wanted to show my future husband that I could commit to something and accomplish something other than college. So that was the first reason. The second reason is I wanted to keep my womb, my 11-year-old womb, as pure as possible for the incubation that would happen one day for my kids. Those were literally my reasons. And so through that decision, it shaped and guided my entire life and brought me here today. I went to the largest sports academy in the world, IMG Academy. And my virgin decision there, it really didn't make much of a difference because IMG is a lot like the Hunger Games. And imagine all the people I had to kill to stand in front of you today to be here. And then I went to a gigantic party school, and that was a bigger challenge to stay a virgin there because there's a lot of beautiful people. You know, I could have slept my way through the NBA, the PGA, I mean, hell, the WNBA. And there were so many beautiful people there, but I decided, no, I'm going to stay pure till I'm married. So fast forward to when I finally did get married, and from 11 to 24, those are a lot of long years of abstinence. Can I get an amen? Yes. So here I am, I'm sitting at a fast food restaurant here in Indianapolis with my two beautiful children beside me. We just closed on our brand new home, and 2 days later, my business is about to open, and I'm sitting in front of my husband, the man I waited my whole life for, and he says to me the following: I cheated on you. As a boyfriend, as a husband, as a fiance, and as a father, I cheated on you every step of the way. And I gotta tell you, it's like you didn't realize that you were walking on this tightrope, and that this tightrope was over the Grand Canyon, and that you were walking in the dark until somebody spits some truth in your life like that, and the lights turn on, and I look down, and it's as though everything is falling. In that moment, it was the death of my marriage. It was the death of an identity that I had formed so long ago. I mean, it was literally like, hi, I'm Jennifer Magley, it's nice to meet you. By the way, I'm a virgin, right? And I had really saw myself and my worth on what I did and what I didn't do. And I was left with this death, because what is death but separation, right? And through the divorce and through becoming a scarlet letter and Fishers, the suburb here of Indianapolis, I became a scarlet letter, which is a single mother, right? I felt like I always had to explain to people, I'm a single mother, but I was married, I was likable. Like, there's a hierarchy for single mothers, you know? That's really judgy. And so as I processed this, and as I realized, if you can lose your identity, if your identity can die, that's not who you really are. Think of queens, think of royalty. A queen is born a queen, regardless of her queendom or kingdom, whether it's thriving or she's in the gallows, or her head is in the gallows, she is a queen regardless. And when you realize that there is purpose in your life, and that you were born for a reason, and that you are royal, there is nothing that can shake you. So if you are shaken by what has happened to you, by what you have done and what you haven't done, in that death, I challenge you, the death of your identity, to realize that that is not who you are. The death of my marriage was the beginning of the real me. Thank you so much.
Don't forget your phone there. Hello, everybody. So death has always been a part of my life. It always has been, and it always will be. In my earliest childhood memories, outside of being outside, being on a bicycle, being outdoors from sunrise to sunset, also involved going to funeral homes and grave sites. And I thought that was the norm, until I found out in elementary that a few of my classmates have never experienced death, have never seen a person's death in a wooden box. And that's when I realized that my life was going to be different. Going into my teenage years, I visited more funeral homes and grave sites, more family members, of classmates, of friends, and of neighbors. All their endings were from natural deaths to illnesses to homicides. And then the climax of all of those people passing away around me was waking up to my mom saying, hey, come to the living room, your grandma's passing away. Now, while albeit her death was a natural one, I didn't understand at the time how that was going to affect me. It was on a special day in my life. It was on my birthday. And so I didn't really expect how that day was going to go. And I just remember sitting on the couch with my family members and just sitting there, and there was nothing I can do to help her. because in my family, in my role, I was a mediator. I was the person who helped. And to sit there and know that I was helpless affected me. And I didn't know the extent of it until years later. As the years went by, I realized a few more things were going to end. I had this determination in middle school that I was going to be an accountant. I took courses in high school that led me to my college academic career. And while I was taking it, I realized that my love for numbers wasn't so much of loving numbers, it was so much of I viewed that career path to help people. And I realized I couldn't help people as much in that career path, and that's when things started to falter off. My mental psyche and everything that went along with it started to end within me. And that's when I found a few people along the way who helped me find a career path that was able to help people get their voices, get their message out there to the world. And that gave me a lot of satisfaction. But while helping other people, I wasn't helping myself. Watching my grandma pass away took a lot of toll out of me that I kind of buried in within myself. That it took over 10 years to get over because I blocked it out. And when that special day came around, that's when everything revisited. I remember that day like if it happened yesterday, all my thoughts, my feelings, all the actions that happened that day. And while I was burying that, I was also burying other things with myself. In college, presented the death of me. And what I mean by that is the death of who I formerly was. I had a struggle of coming to terms with part of my identity. That part of my identity was identifying as a homosexual male. And in that time, had some dark moments that led to my attempt for suicide. Because it wasn't so much I wanted my life to end, I just wanted the pain to stop. Once I got out of those dark times, I came to terms with who I am, and I started to become a much more authentic part of myself. Who I formerly was not who I'm supposed to be. I had to experience death to understand who I'm supposed to be in this world, who I identify as. And like how it was previously spoken before, there is beauty in death. It allows you to grow, it allows you to form a better person of yourself. And for that, I'm forever grateful. While I am sad and sorrow of the people that I have lost along the way, death has allowed me to appreciate the finer things in life, to live in the moment, to be grateful and happy for what you have presented in front of you, because things end. Things are going to be out of your control. And it allowed me to be happy. And sometimes you have to fight for your happiness, even if it's against yourself. And death has been a great teacher in my life, and will always be a great teacher in my life. Thank you.
Hi, I have slides. So today I'm going to attempt to try and explain to you how I have death to thank for my passion and how it sparked where I am right now and my passion and love for storytelling. So this is what I'm going to try and get through in 5 minutes. So to get through it, I had to mind map it, right? Which meant I had to start at the beginning of my story and the beginning of how death impacted me. And for me, that meant when I was pretty young, that's me. So pretty young through stories, right? And one of the biggest stories that was part of my life was stories from the Old Testament. And one of those was Noah's Ark. And that meant that anytime it rained for more than 10 minutes, that meant any raindrop after that, like, we were all done. The earth was, like, I grew up in Florida, and I knew what it looked like, and it looked like the ocean everywhere. And it took a lot of years of this calming down. I later let go of it, never let go of the fear of drowning. And so later, the fear of death continued, where my mom would often find me in my room by myself crying, and when she asked what was wrong, it was that one day she was going to die. And it didn't mean anytime soon. What that meant to me then was that you're born, you grow old, and when you're older, you die, and one day she was going to be older, and she was going to die. I later let go of that, and it wasn't until I was probably 14 that I had the introduction to death. So that was my fear of death, and then I'm going into the introduction. And that was with my great-grandma. And that was normal, right? I had visited her in the nursing home. She was old, she was in her 90s. We knew that she was gonna pass away. But most of my memories from that was coming in from playing outside, in through the back door to the kitchen, seeing my mom on the ground with her hands, or her face in her hands, crying. And that was kind of the introduction, right? And so it wasn't until much later that I experienced a different kind of death, which was the expected. And that came with the diagnosis of my grandma's disease, which was Lou Gehrig's, or ALS. And so going through that process, there is no cure. And so it was much of a death sentence. And so what I mean by expected was for that year, it was prepping. So it was prepping, knowing that she was leaving. And although it was expected, it ended. For those of you who don't know me, my grandparents were extremely important to me. And so I remember it ended with hospice, and they'll prep you and prep you. They tell you to say your goodbyes. And although it's expected, you tell yourself, she's gonna die, it's okay, she's gonna die, and then when she dies, you can't be prepared, right? And so nothing prepares you for when you hear the news, and when it happens, time stands still. You have 10,000 pounds of weight on your chest, and although you've prepared for it for a year, nothing prepares you for when it happens. And so, dealing with many things, I think, like we do in the United States, we just kind of didn't talk about it after. And so, dealing with that, that's kind of where I started yearning for specific things from her. So things I was missing were her voice and her tone and her mannerisms. And those were the things that were gone from me. Whereas storytelling was still a big part, where I would try and tell stories about her and talk to my mom. But those small pieces were things I was missing. And so after expected, I got to experience unexpected death, right? So out of the blue. And this happened when I got a call from my mom. I could tell you exactly where I was, what I was doing. And obviously I know my mom very well. She's one of my best friends. But this tone that I heard when I answered the phone was a tone I've never heard before. And it's one of those things where it's happening so fast I couldn't process it. And come to find out, she was telling me that my stepdad, Eric, had passed away, had died suddenly of a heart attack. So that was my first experience with unexpected death, which ultimately, beautifully, has led to the freedom and happiness of my mom, which is a different story. And then I had this experience with, I'm calling it distant death, and this distant death was I also have gloves on because I'm cold. Was, for those of you who don't know me, my background is, my dad's side of the family is Jewish, and a lot of my growing up and a lot of my story is from that side. And so his mom, which was my grandma in the Holocaust, because of that and because of the fact I'm not Jewish, I never got to meet her. She never wanted to meet me. I never had a conversation with her, but she was a huge part of who I am, and she was a huge part of my story. And I never had actually thought about what would happen or what I would feel like when she died, even though I had never met her and I never knew her. So that was kind of my first experience when I got a phone call from my mom telling me that she had passed away, and I found myself crying, which was an unexpected reaction for someone that I didn't know. And it was in that moment where I felt like I had lost a piece of my story that I could never get back. And I think it was with this experience with death where I had the most regret. And it was the regret that I didn't try hard enough. I didn't reach out, and I maybe took for granted that she was always around and I thought I had more time. And so after this death, I'm categorizing it as death before death. My grandpa is still alive, but he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so for the last 4 years, I've been watching pieces of him die, if that makes sense. So while he's still physically here, everything I know about my grandpa and who he is and his story has been slowly dying. And so this introduction to death and the yearning for those things that I was missing with my grandma actually sparked my passion for storytelling. And so it came out of fear of losing these stories and losing these memories and thinking about who he is and how I'm only actually in a chapter of his life, right? So when I came in, they were already almost retired. So there's a whole bunch of stories I didn't know. So every Sunday since his diagnosis, I bought a bunch of equipment. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I set up interviews and cameras. And so every Sunday since his diagnosis, I captured him on video. And I started capturing these stories, and I started putting little videos together, and I started learning things about him that I never knew. And I started uncovering all these things that my mom didn't even know or my uncle didn't know about the family. And it was at that point where I kind of fell in love with this art of storytelling. Not that I didn't love it before, but it's put me where I am now, which ironically is me out interviewing and pursuing happiness. And I have another side project that's pursuing vulnerability and compassion. And the most exciting part for me, I think, oh, my dad's mom. That's her, Eva. And so I think the most exciting thing for me is actually kind of what Lily was touching on earlier about how I've been thinking a lot about how the people you love, while they're gone, stick with you. And a lot of that I used to think was through storytelling, or how when you're at a funeral, it's like, yes, they're gone, but they're always here. And it made me think a lot about what that meant. And so where I'm at right now, the most exciting part of death and storytelling are these embedded, untold stories. And those are the stories that you don't have to tell, right? And so to give you an example, if you know me, you know that I love to dance. Like I'll dance all night, I'll go real hard. I have a lot of great memories that have come from dancing, and I can tell you that that's happened because of Eric. And I love to travel. I don't just love it, I need it. I need to travel, and I can tell you that's because of my grandparents. And those aren't stories that you necessarily have to tell. These are just pieces of all these people who make up part of who I am. And the things that are most exciting for me is to share those pieces with other people who I already have. And for example, I'm a brand new aunt. And so it's exciting to me that as Journey grows older, everything I do or things that we do or things that she's taught and the way she's brought up are all they're pieces of Eric, and they're pieces of my grandma and my mom and me and everyone. And those untold stories, I think, are the most exciting point for me, as well as everything I'm doing on the side. So there's a screen capture of one of the videos of my grandpa. And so a few of my biggest life lessons, I think, that tie into it is that it's really made me come to terms and be okay with vulnerability. And if you look at my projects or what I'm trying to do now, it's something I try and tie in. But the biggest thing that's always stuck with me, I think, out of all my experiences with death, is that it's okay to not be okay.
Hi guys. This is weird. for me to be up on the stage at the end of the event instead of the morning like I normally am before you guys have drank very much coffee and I'm the first speaker. So the bar is like really low for me to entertain you. And now I'm following these really amazing talks. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing. So I'm feeling a lot of pressure and I'm actually feeling nervous, which is not a feeling I've experienced on the Creative Mornings stage since maybe besides my first event. I was really nervous for that one, so we just won't talk about it. I'm also nervous because here's our topic. Hey, that's like, you know, Ryan and I were planning when to hand this off, and we're like, how about the month that the topic is death? That seems good, right? Like third birthday party, new host, first event, death seems to encapsulate what we're trying to go for here, right? No, not at all, but we won't linger there, right? That's the topic. We've heard a lot about it already. So I won't try to stay there too long. As I was planning through, sorry, I'm really nervous, guys, and I practiced this like so many times, but I had to cut a lot of it because I went way over my time limit, so bear with me. But I've been thinking about this talk for maybe 2 months now, right? Like, I knew I was stepping down. I knew that I was going to say a farewell. So I've been thinking 2 months about all of the awesome things that have happened to me because of Creative Mornings and through Creative Mornings. And then 2 days ago, Wednesday, I was like, I shouldn't talk about any of that. Because I was reminded of this event that happened exactly a year ago in the same space, and Graham Brown said something to the effect that he wasn't going to do what he normally does at his talks, even though that's why we asked him to be a speaker, because he cared about us. He cared about this audience, and he cared about this space that we've created here with Creative Mornings Indianapolis, and I felt that, right? That hit me. I was like, that's what I should do too. So let's change up my entire talk 2 days before and see what happens. So, Creative Mornings Indianapolis, you guys have been incredibly kind to me. Thank you so much. But I think we need to talk about the future. And it's not you, it's me. Does everyone know what's going on here? I'm breaking up with you guys. I'm sorry. But we can still be friends, right? Okay. And this might be the only time in a breakup that these two things are like really legitimately true. I can say that with confidence because I'm the only person in this relationship, so I kind of have the biggest say in it. And also because of this. This says know when to walk away. Has anyone ever stuck with a project for a little bit longer than they should have? Show of hands. Project, a relationship, maybe like a TV show or a bag of chips or something, you know? Like, has it ever ended well for you when you stick with it? No, it doesn't, right? Like, the acting somehow becomes worse in the TV show, and you have a really bad stomach ache after you ate all those chips. And if it's a project, it ends up turning into this, and you're like, how did we get here? Oh, shoot. I don't want to claim that. That's not what's happening here, though, in Creative Mornings, right? Because I paid attention. When I heard that voice that said, maybe something's not right anymore, right? Like, there might be something a little bit different. For the past 3 years, this has been an amazing, incredible gift that I've gotten to host. But for whatever reason, it's kind of just not perfect anymore. And that was tough to realize, because even when, a lot of papers, I'm not even using them. Because even when Creative Mornings Indianapolis isn't perfect, it's still pretty fucking cool. Oh, there's a baby here, and I just dropped the F-bomb. I'm sorry. It's still really, really great. So I could have just ignored that voice and been like, just keep going. But I didn't, because I recognize that people change and projects shift, and sometimes something that was really perfect and really great for a really long time is no longer that. And that's okay. You know, even if you don't know why, it's okay to feel that. And I'm not like saying all of this because I need all of you to like come up to me after the show and be like, no, Brittany, it was great. You did such a good job hosting. Like, I know I did pretty good. So like, you don't have to do that. But no, it just didn't feel right to me anymore, because Creative Mornings Indianapolis has a lot of potential. And I can say that because I've seen other chapters and I've met other chapters. And I've met other chapter hosts, and a lot of them are way cooler than me, so I'm taking zero credit for the potential that Creative Mornings Indianapolis possesses. But there's something really cool happening in the city, and it's because of you guys. And you don't have to just believe me if you don't want to. You can believe one of our other speakers. January York, back in September of 2016, she spoke on something on the theme magic, and she said that we are magical beings. We have all the power in the world right here in our hands. We can change the world. We can make the world what we want it to be. That's cool to think about, right? It's also cool to realize because the world really needs changing right now. So here's your task. But you guys aren't in it alone, right? Look around the room. You have all these other people that are going to help you do that. You have the incredible Creative Mornings team, a lot of the people that are staying the same. I think Ryan wants to bring on a couple more people to help out. You have Ryan. Where is he? Give it up for Ryan. He's killing the game already, right? Indianapolis has incredible venue partners, incredible coffee partners, and amazing speakers. This is one of the few chapters where speakers don't ask how much they get paid to speak here, because Creative Mornings doesn't pay their speakers. We're not allowed to. And that's a struggle that a lot of chapters run into, but that question has never been asked to me as Creative Mornings host, which is amazing. Okay, so before I end, I kind of do want to try to wrap up what Creative Mornings has meant to me these past 3 years. I can't possibly do that in any amount of time. I could talk for like 3 months about it probably, but I'm going to try to, so I'm going to say thank you. And that one thank you isn't quite enough, so here's a lot more thank yous. But still, it doesn't really encapsulate how much I appreciate what's been gifted to me in these past 3 years through Creative Mornings Indy. I've learned so much. Mostly, I've learned how little I actually know about anything that's going on in anyone in the world or life, just in general. I've been really challenged. I've been really stressed. I've felt very loved and appreciated, and I've also felt really super alone. I've experienced a lot of pride in myself, and I've also experienced great disappointment in myself. But today, right here, right now, I'm just feeling excited and ready for you guys and for what's next for Creative Mornings Indianapolis. I'm also selfishly a little ready for what's next for me. I don't know what it is yet, don't ask. I still have like a full-time job. This is just a volunteer thing, which is crazy. So I'm gonna be doing that. There will be something next, and I don't know what it is yet, but as soon as I do, rest assured, you guys will be the first to know, because I'll probably need your help doing it. So thank you. Thank you however many times that is up there, and then times a million more. So as I was trying to think of how to wrap up my talk today, I was reminded of one more of our talks that we had back in the day. This was in March, it's not up there yet, March of 2016, and this is Michael Bricker. And he said that he thinks that it just takes 2 types of people to change the world. That's one person to ask, is this crazy? And another person to say, yes, let's keep going. So I'm gonna be the person here up on stage, and I'm gonna ask, is this crazy to think that these 200 plus people in the room can change the world? And you guys are gonna answer back. Yes. There you go. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be here.